listen, as a fan, especially during the off season, especially for baseball, because it's such a long season, you go through the winter and you go look through the hot stove news and notes and finding out what's best for your team. How does your team get better? And the same thing with the Bears. When you have this much salary cap space, when you have the number one pick, it is vital to find out the direction of your team. As I always say, Courtney, like you could be at the top like Kansas City or the bottom like the Bears because at least you know where you're going. But in the middle in sports sucks because you don't know where you're going the next season. You're going to get better or you're going to get worse. At least I know the direction of the Bears. When you're at the bottom, and I've seen the Bears and you've seen the Bears in last place for a long time in their division, no shot for the playoffs. But when you know that purposely you're going to start with Justin Fields as a base and move your way through and try to make your way with with trying to be able to go up in the division and be able to be a power in the NFC. And I think it's great for the Bears because at least they see the forest for the trees. They know here's what we have. Here's the money we have. Here's the free agency. Here's the draft pick. Here we go.
And you don't want to be in this situation again if you are a Bears fan. And not even just like the number one pick aside.
Yeah.
Having that much salary cap space, go look at the previous roster because that'll tell you why you have north of $99 million to spend because there's nobody on the roster that has any of the young players that have gotten extensions yet, the guys like a Cole Kmet, maybe Darnell Mooney, Jalen Johnson, the people that you think are core players and you think are players that you can build around as building blocks in this offense and this defense. But the roster right now is comprised of guys on rookie contracts and veterans on vet minimum deals, inexpensive deals that aren't going to be here. You don't have anybody making a ton of money as a franchise game changer. Teams that are really good, teams that are constantly in the playoffs, that are outside of that purgatory state in the NFL of where are we going, where are we not going, because the Jets can say that they're constantly in that.
Yeah.
But at least they're trying. Like they're trying to build something. They just can't get out of their own way. The Bears have long been in that middling stage. And once you accept that and go to the bottom, then you can start building.
Yes.
And so now when you have all of the salary cap space and you're cap planning 2 to 3 years out, that's what you're thinking about with extensions and guys that you want to bring in and you can spend in free agency, that number shrinks. So in totality, you don't want to have that much salary cap space because that means your roster's not very good.
Right.
Most times. Like that means your roster, you haven't spent at the right positions when you find yourself having to, take on dead cap, which the Bears have shown that they have no fear in doing that and just cutting dead weight when it has to happen as they did last year. But when you can actually start spending the money that you have on assets you expect to help this team win games, that's when that number shrinks. And it's not a bad thing, but it means that you're spending towards the direction and the goals that you want to go in.
We've seen some bad teams with the Bears, but this is the most important offseason in Bears history in my lifetime. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell us that we're wrong because we've never seen it like this before. A number one pick, all this space. Now, again, here's what I will not guarantee you. I'm not saying that it's going to work because it's a longer conversation, but the idea of tanking in the NFL doesn't work out all the time. Does it get you to the playoffs once or twice? Sure. Major League Baseball, NBA, you can tank and be able to be a perennial playoff team. In the NFL, it's not quite the formula, but at least the Bears have picked a lane. Years past, this would have been Khalil Mack still on the team, Akeem Hicks, as you just mentioned, still on the team, and then you're trying to stack on young talent on top of veteran talent, and then there's a mishmash of talent, and it does not work, especially if the Bears are running it. That's how it used to be. Because how do I know that? Is because we saw that in the Wanstead regime. We saw it a little bit with John Fox regime. I don't want a quarterback. Yes, I want a quarterback. Back and forth between him and Ryan Pace. Okay, so you know who won that? Pace won that, and Fox was fired. So we want to get your thoughts. 312-332-3776 is our phone number. In Moline, here's Jason, who leads us off here on Kap and J Hood. Good morning, Jace.
Hey, Jay Hood, you are the man. I appreciate everything you do. Courtney, you are a light in the dark when it comes to good information for the Chicago Bears. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm going to get straight into it, and I'm going to say that while I understand your opinion about this being the most important offseason, I think we are on the precipice of not our most important offseason, But the most important opportunity we could have, I think it's going to be really important for the Bears to prioritize trading down their draft pick, not only to get more picks, but also to look forward to the next draft and possibly trading back with a team like Houston or Indy that is most likely going to have a bad record.
Well, I guess Jason, the point is that when have you seen the Bears be able to have this embarrassment of riches, at least on the surface? Having the number one pick means exactly what you're talking about. You can keep it, you can move down and get more picks, and then also the money they have for free agency. That's, to me, that's why it's important, because you and I have not seen this before, not with the Bears.
Right, but I think the important part here is with having the leeway of this fourth year with Justin Fields, and also having that extra first-round pick with a bad team in 2024 to open yourself up to the Caleb Williams pick next year if Justin doesn't meet the metrics that the Bears need him to meet.
It's a good fail-safe, but you don't you hear that I'm a beacon of light.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody ever called you a beacon of light?
No. They call me a beacon of something else, but go ahead.
I'm going to hold on to this, so thank you, Jason.
Yes.
You don't want to be back in that spot. Like, if all goes well this year, if you hold on to Justin Fields, and if he truly is the quarterback for 2023, like Ryan Poles said he was going to be, then you're not even in position to go get a Caleb Williams or the quarterback, Drake May, the quarterback from UNC. You don't want that. You want to get it done now. Like, if you're a Bears fan, do you want a whole nother season of 3-14? Do you really want to go through that again?
I'd rather not. No.
You want to see, of course, like the ultimate scenario is 3-14 to the scenario we laid out yesterday. If you can go worst to first like the Bengals did, great. But the realistic thing that you want as a Bears fan is the sustained success of 3-14 to maybe 8-9. And from there, maybe, or, even 7-10, and then maybe getting, above 9 wins to getting a winning record. Like, if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Because you're right, embarrassment of riches. You don't want all these things. You don't want to put yourself back in position for the number 1 overall pick or to be a top 5 team, because, unless they trade with Houston, unless they trade with Indy, and both of those teams are terrible again next year, if things go according to plan, they shouldn't be drafting in the top 5 in 2024.
Shay.
Well, that's, Courtney, what you just said is why I think this offseason is the most important one, because if you get things right this offseason and you see the incremental improvement and you see you're going in the right direction next season, then 2024 becomes the year where it's like, we have the cherry on top. Let's add, and then we have a team that hopefully can contend for a Super Bowl. If you go the wrong way, you get this offseason wrong, then next season you're looking at resetting both the coach and the quarterback. You don't want to be there. You're going to be 3 years behind the clock again. And we haven't brought this to the air yet. Hootie, I don't even think you know this, what I'm about to say. Kap and I, before he went on vacation, had a conversation. And what Courtney just said opened my eyes, because I was going to bring this up when he gets back. I asked him, next season, would you rather be 8-9 or 4-13? And he said he would rather be 4-13 because he wants to be picking in the top 5 again.
Wait. This is somebody, if you're 4-13, you have a quarterback issue this year.
Correct.
That's
correct.
What
I
said.
said.
I thought he was a Fields guy.
I said, if you're 4-13, that means Fields was horrible. And he said, there's just not enough talent. If Fields can be good, you can be 4-13.
I think
there's no chance.
That's too extreme. That's so black and white, not letting it, not giving any sort of credence to the marginal to major growth that can happen to a roster in one off season. I'm of the belief that you don't go from worst to first all that often, because there's holes in your roster when that happens. Look at what happened with the Cincinnati Bengals. There were holes all along the offensive line. Joe Burrow got sacked a bajillion times that season, and that's a major reason why they lost the Super Bowl. If you do it the right way, if you build incrementally, like, you can get a lot of really good players in here, and they have to spend. They have to hit that cash floor. They're going to be signing their own guys. They're going to be signing guys from other teams and free agents and all of that, and being aggressive in the draft. Like, if you do all of that and you're still 4-13, then jobs are on the line. Guys are getting fired. People are getting traded. Like, that's a failure at that point.
Including number 1, Justin Fields.
Because 4-13 would tell me that he regressed, or we saw the ceiling last year and he's not a top 10. Doesn't have the capability to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL and would certainly not be the answer for the Chicago Bears. But that's surprising that Kap would say that because he is such a Fields guy.
Wow.
And I would expect
he just still fully believes this team can be terrible, but Fields can be good. And he was right about that this year. I don't think it can happen 2 years in a row.
It won't happen 2 years in a row because the personnel around Fields will be so drastically different. And unless the staff is just terrible at evaluating talent, which I don't believe they are, again, I'll point to the day 3 picks. They had 5 players who played 15 games this year. Like, even if you're terrible, you're not going to be having those sorts of numbers. They can clearly evaluate talent. So I just don't see that wouldn't sync up. That would say that everybody else around Fields was an epic failure, and they would have had to have made so many moves this offseason to fill this roster that you'd say you literally got every pick wrong, every free agent acquisition wrong, every draft pick wrong. And that's so unlikely.